I'd also like to address the federal government's response once more. We spent many months, this has now been 10 months, believe it or not, and we spent many months criticizing the federal government for an inappropriate response. And the federal government said for many months, no, we're doing everything we can do. It's going great. It's going great. The president applauded FEMA, applauded the recovery effort. We now know that was all baloney, as we would say in New York. We'd actually say something else in New York, but we'll leave it at baloney for now. That was not true. What the President of the United States said was not true. And I'm not saying that as an elected official. This is not a political debate. The federal government put out a report that said the federal response was ineffective, anemic, FEMA was not prepared, they did not have an appropriate response for Puerto Rico. That is the federal government controlled by President Trump. That is the same federal government and the same president who for months said the response to Puerto Rico was laudatory. The federal report was not by the Congress, it was not by the Democrats, it was by the president's agency. And it refuted everything the president said. So the president said for many months, this has been a great response. Federal government comes out with a report. The federal report says it was not a great response. It was a poor response. FEMA wasn't ready. They were shorthanded. They weren't prepared. And the rebuilding effort has not been what it should have been. That is now documented. That is not a political dispute, even in this heated political climate. That is a fact. Now, the President of the United States should respond to that fact. Mr. President, you were wrong. You were wrong for months. Everything you said turned out not to be true. Your own federal government says the response was inadequate. What are you going to do? I suggested, number one, he starts with an apology to the people of Puerto Rico. Why? Because he was wrong. Because what he said was not true. And when you say something that is not true, and you then find out the facts, and you're the President of the United States, it's incumbent on you to say, I was wrong. And I apologize, because what I said was wrong, and even more, because my federal government did not do the right thing in helping the people of Puerto Rico. That's step one. Step two, the president should say, well, now that I understand the response was not adequate, I'm going to make it right. How do you make it right? Puerto Rico asked for $94 billion in the recovery plan. All they have gotten is a $5 billion loan. That is disgraceful. That is disgraceful. So now, Mr. President, that you know you were not helpful to the people of Puerto Rico, fund the recovery effort that they need to rebuild. That is the least you can do. And third, Mr. President, I'm going to send him a letter. I'm going to invite him to come back to Puerto Rico. Come back to Puerto Rico. The island that he disrespected. The island that his agencies failed to serve. Come back to Puerto Rico. Look for yourself at the damage. Look at the number of homes that still need help. Look at the devastation to the economy of Puerto Rico. Understand what your tax reform bill did to Puerto Rico and how the tax reform bill actually hurt the economy at a time when the island needed it most, decimating the pharmaceutical industry, which was the mainstay of one of the largest sectors of the Puerto Rican economy, come and look at the damage that was exacerbated by your lack of federal response. I will even come with you, Mr. President. Remember that you came from New York originally, Mr. President, and remember how important the Puerto Rican connection is as a New Yorker. Come back to Puerto Rico. Apologize for the mistake. Say that you will make it right. Provide funding for the reconstruction effort and provide help for the struggling economy. Puerto Rico never needed paper towels, Mr. President. They needed funding assistance to rebuild the economy. People needed roofs on their homes. They needed clean water. They didn't need paper towels. Come back and fix the wrong. Come back and right the wrong. That is now indisputable because your own federal agency said it. Puerto Rico suffered a disaster at the same time that Florida and Texas had a disaster. There is no difference between Texas, Florida, and Puerto Rico. They are all home to American citizens. And they all deserved the full response of their federal government. Puerto Rico did not get it. Florida did. Texas did. Puerto Rico did not get it. Puerto Rico was neglected, abandoned, and disrespected by this administration. And they did not deserve it.